Lesson 3. TISAX Assessment Objectives and Assessment Levels. Step 1. What's a TISAX assessment objective? You have been asked by your current or future business partners to provide a TISAX certification. For example, evidence that your organization takes information security seriously. A TISAX certificate is based on a set of goals that an organization can achieve in the TISAX information security context. TISAX refers to these goals as so-called assessment objectives, the set of requirements your organization needs to implement, and also the costs for the certification depend on these assessment objectives. But how do you select the appropriate assessment objectives? The very first thing we recommend is that you consider the wishes of your customers and business partners. Are there already concrete requests here? But please don't forget to include your business development as well. It is possible that in the near future you will be able to tap into customer groups that have specific requirements for your TISAX certification that no one is currently asking of you. It might make sense to address the resulting assessment objectives right now so that you can save yourself the effort of a second extended certification in the near future. Let's put it in an example. You want to do driving services for an organization. Of course, this other organization requires you to have a valid driver's license. Your task now is to find out and make sure that you have the right driver's license. Are you more likely to drive passenger cars or motorcycles? Might there be clients in the future for whom you will be driving trucks? You'll be guided by these considerations when you think about what type of vehicle to get a license for. When selecting the TISAX assessment objectives, it is exactly the same. You will be guided by the requirements of your customers, and possibly also by the requirements of potential future customers. Now let's take a look at the available assessment objectives together so that you know from which list you will have to select. Info high. This objective fits if your organization processes information with high protection needs. This represents information that's crucial for our and our partners' organizations, like our proprietary processes or intellectual property. A leak here would be harmful, but not catastrophic. Info very high. This assessment objective comes into play when your organization processes highly security-sensitive data, where a breach of confidentiality would be catastrophic. In case you wonder what the exact distinction between high and very high is, this is not clearly defined in TISAX. The ENX suggests that you determine this based on the formal document classification, like confidential, internal, or the like. You can read sometimes on title pages of technical documents. This guidance might seem a bit vague. Maybe you do not receive documents but simply have access to information systems of your partners. And in these databases, you probably won't find references to document classification. That's why ENX has put together a white paper, Harmonization of Classification Levels, that sheds a little more light on this topic. We link it below. Our tip: if you don't have very clear information from your partners here that info high is sufficient, just play it safe and choose info very high. It doesn't cost much more and you are on the safe side. High availability. This one is for you if your organization handles information with high protection needs in the context of availability. High availability of information. An example could be: your organization provides a cloud application for your partners that needs to be available at least during normal office hours in order to maintain business operations there. Very high availability. Handling of information with very high protection needs in the context of availability. Very high availability of information. Analog could be an example here. Your organization provides a cloud application for your partners that needs to be available 24/7 without interruption. Proto parts. You should select this assessment objective if your organization works with parts and/or components of vehicle prototypes. Proto vehicles. In case you are working with entire prototype vehicles, you need to go for this assessment objective. Test vehicles. If you work not only with prototypes of new vehicles, but with the more mature models already further developed. Proto events. In the automotive industry, there are many different events around prototypes: business receptions, promotional events, video shoots, photo shoots, and much more. If your organization works in this field, this is your assessment objective. Data. You typically select this assessment objective if you process personal data on a larger scale as part of contracts and orders. Special data. This is the last assessment objective. It is reserved for those organizations that process personal data from the specially protected categories, according to Article 28 GDPR, the European General Data Protection Regulation. Now we have gone through which assessment objectives there are in TISAX at all. Your task now is to find out, together with your business development, your customers and business partners, which assessment objectives are meaningful and necessary to meet for your organization. Please note, it is very common that your business partners will simply tell you, "We would like to see TISAX certification level 1, 2, or 3. Unfortunately, this is not sufficient. The so-called TISAX assessment level only describes the way in which the certification audit of your organization is conducted, but not the requirements that are placed on your organization. Let me expand on our driving license analogy. Imagine you've got the green light to drive for an organization. They tell you, "We need you to drive using route 1, 2, or 3. This sounds straightforward until you realize you don't know which vehicles you're supposed to drive on this route. Do they want you to drive a passenger car, a motorcycle, or a truck? Similarly, being told to achieve a TISAX certification level 1, 2, or 3 without clarity on the specific assessment objectives is like being asked to drive on a route without knowing the type of vehicle you should be using. That's exactly how it is here. If you are to present a TISAX label, you want to know what requirements you are supposed to meet from that framework, not whether the assessment has to take place at your site or can be done remotely. Summary. In this overview, we've unpacked the significance of the TISAX certification and introduced its assessment objectives, which act as specific information security goals for your organization. Whether it's about determining the protection needs for data, ensuring the availability of critical applications, or managing vehicle prototypes, each objective tailors the certification process to your unique needs and obligations. Now, with a clearer understanding of these objectives and their implications, it's time for your organization to assess its current and future requirements. Decide which objectives resonate most with your operations, align with your partners' expectations, and support your growth strategies. Remember, TISAX isn't just about meeting a standard, it's about securing trust and unlocking opportunities in your industry. So, take a moment, reflect, and choose the path that best supports your organizational vision. What assessment objectives will you go for? Please note them down in the checklist we provide below.